Hello, good evening and welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, CATS International demands publication of intended transport fare reduction from Ghana Private Road Transport Union to guide commuters ahead of implementation day on Sunday. We are live with CATS International. Also in this bulletin, we will be discussing how Talo Oil's fresh drilling on the Jubilee field will boost production and increase government's revenue from the sector. Plus, government set to introduce comprehensive policies and a clear roadmap to support the transition to greener fuel sources within Ghana's aviation sector.
It is worth mentioning that Ghana has a National Energy Transition Plan 2022 to 2070, whilst establishing a comprehensive framework to effectively support the country in fulfilling its complements as outlined in the nationally determined contribution.
We have details of these and more lined up for you. Please stay on. I truly appreciate your time. I am Pius Kojobaka, and looking at our stories. CATS International has asked the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, to start publishing the intended reduction in transport fares to help commuters acquaint themselves before Sunday, 25 of May this year. The GPRTU has agreed to reduce transport fares by 15% from Sunday in response to consecutive drops in fuel prices. West Africa Regional Director of CATS International, Apia Kusia Dumako, joins us via Zoom to help us understand these. And thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to speak to us. Now, first off, why do you think it's important to start publishing the intended reduction of transport fares as we are calling?
Okay, good evening and good evening to your viewers. I think it's been a practice that anytime tariffs are reduced or increased, there's a publication of the tariffs in such a way that passengers are also informed about it before even they go about their journey. And that would also prevent the fracas and altercation between drivers and passengers. We've had it in the past whereby, because of a two-cities change, a passenger was stabbed to death. And if we want to avoid these things from happening, I think that we need to publish it in a way that it cured the issue of information asymmetry.
With that said, do you hold the view that the Ministry of Transport, for example, should spearhead in this publication?
I think that the Ministry of Transport, in collaboration with the GPRTU, and we also have the National Road Transport Coordinating Commission, they can also they have a role in terms of setting this. And once the prices are set, they should be able to publish them, and also the assemblies should be given the mandate to ensure that the information is well disseminated.
Well, I don't know what you make of this, but do you think the proposed 15% reduction is enough for consumers?
I think it is not enough. I mean, this kind of reduction came from the transport operators, not through any independent economic assessment that came. In fact, when you do the computation, consumers should be getting something around 21% or so. But the driver union has become more like a cartel, and they decide how much they should reduce their prices. That is why I've been saying for many years that Ghana needs a competition law that will address the issue of price fixing and cartels, because once people know that they fix prices and they cannot be dealt with, they will go ahead consumers.
All right. So again, I don't know what you make of this, but talking about the proposed reduction, can that be implemented by transport owners? Will they comply? Do you think so? Despite this, the confirmation coming from GPRTU, the motherboard itself.
I think that transport operators are registered by the various assemblies. And so this is the time that the MMDAs have to start to meet with the various unions and let them compute the fares and say that, look, starting from, I think, 24th, this is going to be the new fare. So once the assembly comes in and the assembly also takes trouble to publish it, and the passengers become aware of the new rate, in that way, I think that it will be binding. It will be binding on drivers to do so. But one thing I also want to say is that we don't have any public transportation. I mean, state-run. The Metro Mass Transit that was established some years ago, we don't know what is happening with MMT now. Most of their cars have found themselves in the scrapyard. Ayalololo is also on its deathbed. Because if we were to be having a public transport, public transport like the MMT and the Ayalololo, what Ayalololo can do is that if Ayalololo reduces its prices by 30% or 20%, that alone will also put a kind of competitive pressure on the private transport operators. And once they see that Ayalololo price has gone down, if they also don't come down, all passengers will go to take the Ayalololo or the MMT. But currently, it is all the public transportation in the country are in the hands of the private sector. And these private sectors are scheming against consumers. When you go to any major country in the world, when it comes to public transportation, cities, they are controlled and run by the city. So government cannot allow private sector alone to run the city transportation. For efficiency and planning, I think that we need to see the role of the government in all of these things, because we can't allow GPITU and Pro2 and the rest alone. We need to have a publicly funded public transportation. In the past, we used to have the OSA, Omnibus Services Authority. Then MMT came. We took millions of dollars from World Bank to do Ayalololo. Now, Ayalololo is not working. One of their terminals in Adenta was last week commissioned as a DVLA center. So all of these things are indicative that we don't have any, government is not showing any committed interest in making sure that the public transportation works. So when you go to most cities, everybody parks his car and take the public transport, whether train or buses. But we are not having this conversation. And I think that, unfortunately, we've decided to talk about Okada and put the issue of public transportation on the back burner. We need to bring this conversation again.
Very well. Thank you so much, Mr. Apia Kusiadumaku, for your time. He's the Executive Director of CATS International West Africa. I truly appreciate your time speaking to us here on Business Live. Let's shift focus to some other stories. Oil exploration firm Talo has announced that it has commenced fresh drillings operations on the Jubilee fields. Now, this move, which is part of Talo's 2-year program, is aimed at boosting oil production from the Jubilee area and increasing government's revenue from that sector. There is more in this report.
According to Talo Oil, the upcoming campaign will be rolled out in phases, beginning in May 2025, with additional activity scheduled for November and extending into 2026. It argues that we're building on previous high-performance records, taking drilling management to new heights throughout the project. The exploration firm in the notice added that this new campaign follows the completion of previous drilling program, which ended in December 2024. This, Talo says, delivered 18 new wells, 6 months ahead of schedule, and it was below budget. The earlier campaign noted that the managing director of Talo Oil Ghana, Jean Madama, has also stated that this move shows that Talo Oil remains confident in Ghana's resource base. The announcement by Talo Oil is coming at a time that production from the country's oil fields have been declining over the past months. Therefore, for some, this should come as good news for stakeholders and even government.
Joining us via Zoom for a conversation on the back of this subject matter is the Executive Director for Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Isiah. Benjamin, thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us on Business Live. Largely, how significant is this announcement to the sector?
I think it is good, but it depends on what we find out after appraisal. Normally, I say that drilling it is a necessity, but it is not certain because after drilling, some appraisals must be done to know whether there's that commercial viability of these wells. If there's commercial viability, then it means that our revenues from the upstream will increase. But if there are no commercial viability, it means that there's some cost to either the IOCs or the other participants, maybe Ghanaian participants in this particular drilling process.
Help me understand this. How would Talo fresh drilling operations on the Jubilee field affect production of oil and revenue for the sector?
Yes, if after appraisal and it is commercially viable, it means that our output is likely going to increase because in recent times, for the last 5 years, our output has been on the decline. Just the release 2024 report by PIAC indicates that our output has declined averagely by about 7% in the last 5 years. And as we're speaking, we are doing only 48 million a year. Even based on projected, we wanted 51 million, but we did not get that. So if output is on the decline and drillings are done, and I think we must commend Talo because for the last 6 years, they have continuously shown some level of investment in that part of our petroleum value chain, and they've done a lot of drilling. But the hope is that after completing and appraising, these wells must be commercially viable. And if they are viable, I think that production from Jubilee field will increase. As we're speaking, they produce the highest. They are producing about 31 million barrels a year. And if these appraisals are done and they are commercially viable, it means they will go more than the 31. And that also means that our daily production will now jump to over 31,000 barrels a day. And that is a good signal in terms of revenue generation and also creation of jobs for the teeming unemployed youth in Ghana.
Help me understand how we can maximize these gains from the fresh drillings. How can we do that?
Maximization depends on contracts signed. I believe that if we get fair contracts in some of these operations and also injecting certain liquidity with respect to our national oil company in this drilling process, at the end of the day, we are likely going to get a lot of revenue from this upstream development. But if we do not sign good and fair deals, we are likely going to be shortchanged in this drilling development. So it is about us ensuring that there's that good governance in terms of contract signage and also ensure that we partner well. Participation here means that we inject certain liquidity in our participatory interest so that at the end of the day, if they are giving us some form of a share based on that particular interest, we also get a lot and then convert this into revenue to support the development of this country.
Benjamin Isiah, I'm truly grateful for speaking to me on Business Live. Thank you so much for your time. We want to stay a while longer within the space because the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, says the continent must adopt fresh perspectives on the risks of oil dependency and the opportunities presented by the energy transition to ensure inclusive growth and development. Speaking at the opening of the cohort of the Africa Climate Academy in Accra, Dr. Charles Ofori, policy lead on climate change and energy transition at ACEP, underscored the importance of capacity building in crafting homegrown solutions to address climate change.
It's a capacity building session that we have instituted, that's the Africa Center for Energy Policy has instituted to really cause a rethink of issues around climate action and energy transition in Africa. The usual conversation has always been that, you know, our climate financing and our climate action systems are donor-driven. We always expect someone to come and do something for us. But we believe that with proper planning and a good stakeholder interaction, we believe, and a lot of capacity, we believe that we can really create a solution that are homegrown and really cause a balance in the climate, system. What we are looking to achieve is to ensure that solutions that come, through here balance the environmental, the economics, and then the social aspects of sustainability.
Some participants share their expectations for the workshop.
I hope to learn about climate action and climate change, how it affects Ghana and me as an individual, and how in my small way I can make a difference to Ghana and the world at large. I will start from my small corner, work on myself, tell my friends and my family, and hopefully it will spread to Ghana at large. I would use water wisely, I would turn off taps, I would repurpose my materials at home, and fast fashion is a no-no.
Because we do have limited resources, and some of these indicators or the reasons why, some of these behaviors that have been highlighted to be the reason for climate change, this is our normal way of life. How do we move from how we are living now and move to a better way of being and still be able to live fruitful lives and preserve our climate?
From a resource mobilization perspective, what I'm looking for is to learn about the ways how to mobilize more revenues in order to take forward climate actions.
The Africa Climate Academy is a transformative educational platform designed to equip policymakers, media professionals, civil society leaders, and academia with knowledge on sustainable energy alternatives and the pressing challenges facing the climate today.
Now, the Ministry of Transport says government is working on comprehensive policies and a clear roadmap to support the transition to greener fuel sources within Ghana's aviation sector. Speaking on behalf of the Transport Minister, Joseph Abukari Nikbe, Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, John Dumelo, emphasized the need for coordinated efforts to develop sustainable aviation fuels. He made these remarks at a partnership event between the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the International Civil Aviation Organization here in Accra. More in this report.
The goal of the partnership between the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the International Civil Aviation Organization is to ensure sustainability.
It is worth mentioning that Ghana has a National Energy Transition Plan 2022 to 2070, whilst establishing a comprehensive framework to effectively support the country in fulfilling its complements as outlined in the Nationally Determined Contribution. And here the written Nationally Determined Contribution, NDCs. The plan recognizes the inherent unsustainability of the current energy landscape and the challenges it presents.
ICAO project coordinator Cesar Velat spoke about the importance of the partnership.
Sustainable aviation fuels offers not only an environmental opportunity but also an economic and social opportunity for Ghana, and that's what we will be evaluating and discussing during these 2 days. And we will also take the opportunity of this workshop to familiarize Ghana national stakeholders, the industry and the government representatives about which are the challenges and opportunities for the promotion of these new fuels.
Currently, aviation contributes about 2 to 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions. As part of its international obligations, Ghana is aligned with global climate goals, including carbon offsetting and reduction scheme for international aviation.
This is still Business Live. We have more for you after the short break. Hello, welcome back to Business Live. The Ghana Mine Workers Union has called for the resourcing of Ghana's capital market to enable the mining sector access to long-term funding. According to the union, a well-resourced capital market would provide the necessary funding for mining projects, thereby reducing the sector's reliance on foreign capital. Abdul Mumin Gbana is the General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union.
For you to do any proper mining, you need to be able to raise capital. Unfortunately, the cloud of Ghanaians in the industry to be able to raise the needed capital to run large-scale mines like we have in the industry now. I'm not sure we are there yet. And so, you know, there's a lot to do in that regard. It brings to fore our capital market, and for that matter, the Ghana Stock Exchange, and whether or not it has a capacity to be able to raise capital, and for that matter, make capital available to mining businesses, particularly Ghanaians who want to venture into mining or who are already in the mining space. So there are too many things that we need to do right before any amendments in a manner that favors a lot more Ghanaian participation is done.
President John Mahama has underscored the importance of an enhanced trade between Ghana and the European Union, describing it as a critical step towards deeper economic cooperation. Speaking at the 2025 Ghana-EU Business Forum in Accra, President Mahama noted that the EU remains one of Ghana's key trading partners, with imports from Ghana totaling approximately $3.25 billion in recent figures.
World order that is changing from multilateral rules-based systems to unilateral and transactional relationships, we are proud of our partnership with the European Union. Our trade relationship with the European Union remains robust and mutually beneficial. According to the United Nations Comtrade database on international trade, in 2024, the EU imported approximately $3.25 billion worth of goods from Ghana and exported a total of $3.65 billion worth of goods to Ghana. It is worth mentioning overall that Ghana's total exports in 2024 reached a high of 294.9 billion Ghana cedis, which approximately stands at $20.4 billion US. And Ghana recorded a trade surplus overall of 44.7 billion Ghana cedis. Three commodities accounted for over 82% of our total exports, and these are gold at 163 billion Ghana cedis, mineral fuels and oil at 54.2 billion Ghana cedis, and cocoa and other related products at 28.6 billion Ghana cedis. In the first quarter of 2025, we've already recorded a 13% increase in non-traditional exports, such as processed foods, textiles, and shea butter, reflecting the positive impact of governments-backed industrial policies and renewed market access to the EU.
Away from that, the Chartered Institute of Accountants Ghana, ICAG, has placed its members on high alert over infractions in the implementation of financial management systems in both public and private sector. According to the institute, this has become critical due to the involvement of accountants and some members in various financial transactions in organizations. Now, President of the institute, Augustine Addo, made the revelation in an interview with Joy Business during the first graduation and admission ceremony of the institute here in Accra. More in this report for you.
The Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, ICAG, has held its first graduation and admission ceremony of the year, inducting new members and associates into the institute. The event marked the culmination of a rigorous process involving various disciplines and certifications that candidates had to complete successfully. As part of its ongoing efforts to promote accountability and transparency within the financial sector, the institute is actively advocating for the implementation of the recently enacted Financial Management Act across all sectors of the economy. In an interview, President Augustine Addo encouraged accountants to take an active role in identifying and addressing loopholes within organizations to ensure integrity in financial transactions.
There is no financial disbursement or commitment that will not involve an accountant. Either it is an accountant who initiates the financial process, the accountant who would monitor it, the accountant who will pay, or the accountant who will audit. So our exhortation to our members is that once they take out the membership of the accountancy profession, they are going to encounter these fraudulent practices, this financial indiscipline at their workplaces. They should be very much alert. And where they encounter this, they should not compromise. They should sweep them out of their hideouts.
Mr. Addo also revealed that the institute has taken disciplinary action against some members this year for various professional misconducts, reinforcing its commitment to upholding ethical standards.
So far, we've been able to implement some of these sanctions. And just about, I think February this year, we even published a situation where one member was fined, another was sanctioned as not being a member again, and another firm was also sanctioned by means of penalty and some out of service for some period.
This event also marks the 44th graduation ceremony held by the Institute since its establishment.
And we have more stories for you when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. That's it for the bulletin. I am Pius Kujobaka.